Indy's column, opinion piece, by Jacob Stewart, and it was about the redistricting process. And if the Republicans really want to change the maps, especially in the first congressional district, which is that the region, as they call it, the Chicagoland area, there's a way they could prove to the public it is necessary, and he says they should have a special census. Jacob Stewart from the Indy Star joins us now. Jacob, hello.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Okay, so you worked in the Senate, right? At one point, the Indiana Senate?
Correct.
So you know how this process, how the Senate itself works. Do you get a feeling, before we get into your column, do you get a feeling that they are going to go forward with the redistricting? You know these people.
I have the feeling that they will, very reluctantly, though. I don't think there's much of a passion for it, but there's a recognition that if they don't, then, they might get primaried. Some of these national figures will try to weigh into Indiana politics and make sure they don't get reelected.
So is there theory that they actually think Charlie Kirk is going to put some sort of boots on the ground operation against them? That just seems absurd to me.
Yeah, that seems to be it. Whether or not that ends up panning out, we'll see. But who knows?
So what you're saying is the guy who looks like a thumb has more control than me and my vote.
It stands to reason.
Yes, Casey.
Okay.
I think that's in a nice way exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
All right, so you had this interesting piece about, the first district is the one they think the Republicans are super targeting. Maybe they could figure out a way to make the Marion County 7th Congressional District Republican too, but the first is the one everybody seems to be focused on. And you had an interesting idea. You said, look, if there's a need for this, show us, and you can do it through a special census. Tell us about the column.
Right. Yeah, so I actually grew up in Northwest Indiana. There's a lot of housing development. There's a lot of growth there. A lot of people moving from Chicago that commute there still. So I think there's a legitimate opinion out there that the population is growing, so maybe they should be reconsidered. Their apportionment in the Congress should be reconsidered. So my column essentially addresses that point and says, if you want to redistrict the state, redistricting is always a partisan game. It's always drawn to advantage the majority party. But if you want to do it now, mid-cycle redistricting is pretty rare, but it has happened before. You need to at least prove there is some reason for it. And some state legislators have come out with saying that exact thing. If you want to redistrict, we should figure out how the population has changed since 2020.
Because they'd have to do that as a part of the map, right? You've got to have equal populations in these districts.
Right. There's a federal requirement that they need to be roughly equal in population. So it seems like a pretty easy thing to say that you need to at least see how many people are in the district or changing.
Well, that could also backfire on them, couldn't it? If they do, the census and there's less?
It could. If there's more people in the more liberal-leaning parts of the Northwest Indiana district, then maybe the district would have to be smaller and centered more around those more liberal-leaning, more urban areas. It could definitely backfire.
Jacob Stewart from the Indy Star is our guest. He has a new column out talking about redistricting and saying a great way that the Republicans could appease. A lot of people have concerns that this is just simply partisan politics, is to prove the need for redistricting, especially in the first congressional district, and have a special census. How would this work? Because you said, look, Trump clearly wants this. There's probably a way the state could do this without it being put on the state's tab to have a special census.
Yeah, more than likely. So the last special census we've seen is Westfield.
We talked about that. That was like $2 million Westfield had to pay.
Very expensive. But, a special session would also cost at least $500,000, if not more, depending on how long it takes.
Okay,
wait a minute.
So let's talk about that, because Braun came out the other day and tried to go, it'll be like $150,000. There's no way they're doing a special session for $150,000,
yeah,
right?
And maybe a couple legislators' paychecks would be $150,000.
Yeah. Well, and you're the perfect guy to ask this question because you work there. You know how this operates. He's full of it when he's saying $150,000.
Right. It's a part-time legislature, so what we're paying them now is just for the first, every other year it's January through March, and then every budget session is January through around May. So if we have a special session, that's all the salaries of these legislators that we need to pay per diem. So it's per day
Yeah.
that we're paying them.
Mileage,
Right.
all this other stuff. Yeah. So Braun, this will shock you, Casey. Braun lied.
What?
Like, I know, given all the positive encounters we had with Braun, that it was very shocking. But tell us theoretically how a special census might work and how Indiana might be able to say, hey, you want it, President, you do it.
Yeah. So how it's working in Westfield, from my understanding, is that people in the area are getting mailers with a special code on it that they can then go online to fill out, who's in their household and everything. So it'd probably work about the same. If you want to redistrict and you're going to focus on Northwest Indiana, Lake Porter and part of LaPorte counties are in that district. So sending mailers to everyone in those districts, and then getting a count of their household and everything. That's about how the special census would work, and it would definitely cost a lot of money. So,
Okay, now with everything that's been going on with ICE and some people's fears, whether warranted or not, do you think people would comply or participate?
I think so. It's going to be sent to every household. There's always going to be that fear, but I think most people will probably participate. Although, to your point, Lake County is one of the more immigrant-heavy counties in our state, so that could very well be a concern that people have.
Jacob Stewart from the Indy Star is our guest. He's got a new column out about redistricting, talking about the idea of a special census might be able to help the Republicans accomplish their goals, make the public feel better about what they're trying to do. Here, I want to come back to this because here's what I don't understand, and you know these guys because you worked in the Indiana General Assembly. Todd Houston and Rod Bray ruled that place with an iron fist, right? As Bosma and David Long did before. 90% of these guys and girls who are in there are just rank and file. Whatever the boss tells me to do, I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. They don't want this. It's pretty obvious, right? Like, these dudes, you got to read the tea leaves. What are they worried of? Why are these lawmakers worried then? Because let's face it, the primary challenge often comes from, like, if you're a Kurt Nicely or a John Jacob, you're a rebel rouser, we being the establishment, find some passable person and then give them $1 gajillion. I would think they would be able, if they really didn't want this, to go to these guys and go, don't listen to Charlie Kirk. He's not going to do anything. He's going to be on to the next state. He's not going to remember your name or where you're from. If they really are against this, don't they have the political will to tell these guys, we ain't doing this?
They certainly do. I do think, though, there is a sizable part of their base in Indiana who will try to hold them accountable if they don't do everything they can to, quote-unquote, fight fire with fire. I think that's pretty ironic, though, because, whatever happened to holding your party accountable? Last time I checked, the last election, both the Republican and Democratic parties completely altered their platforms. The Republicans watered down language on abortion, gun rights, that sort of thing. And the Democrats, I think they removed language around the death penalty. So it's like, on the one breath, these people want them to fight fire with fire. On the next, they will probably complain that they don't really care what they think because, these legislators will be more in a safe Republican district. So I think it's ironic in that sense.
Are you implying people just totally make it up as they go along?
Yeah.
Is that what you're implying? All right, find him over Indy Star. IndyStar.com is the website. We always enjoy reading your stuff. I thought your thing on the post office last week was fascinating about getting rid of the post office. We did a big segment on that. Jacob Stewart, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.